once a team has Catherine. I'm very interested to see why Grace is not prioritized in Europe here. Grace is still very strong with the Echo buff. Her ult was nerfed, but still very viable when the team can focus and dive a specific carry. So it's very interesting to see that right now, from what I've seen, Grace is not a big priority, but Lance is.
We are going to get that Celeste ban, though, because the Lance is there. G2 take away that option for the combo, so we'll see what Mousesports wants to prevent. It is going to be the Lyra ban, so Grace is available. I would love to see Grace come through, but like you said, we just... For some reason, we had the similar situation with Lyra Grace in Europe during the regular season where they put this priority on Arden over the Lyra or the Grace, and it seems like they've kind of pushed that Grace even further down now.
It's going to be interesting to see how we go on with this track. Lyra will be taken off the board, but I'm intrigued by the Kestrel-Lance interaction once again, because we saw in game 1 Kestrel against Lance, and this second one of those roots was landed. Kestrel is totally out of the game. Yeah,
and plus Glaive is open, so if G2 doesn't take Glaive, then that's so risky for them if Mousesports gets a Glaive and a Lance, which is the counter to, and I love the Finn pick here. Keanu is so good on Finn. I was hoping they would pick Finn, because Finn is good into Lance. He's known as a late game, mid-game to late game counter, because Lance cannot displace him with the Githian wall. Finn can't be stunned, etc. So it's a great pick coming off from G2 here. And if they pick a Glaive, it's risky because Finn is so good at countering the Glaive and keeping the Glaive off of a Kestrel, for example. So Mousesports may opt for the Glaive here still. He's still such a great combo with a Lance and an Afterburn being played together there.
We'll see where they do go with this one. Obviously, Mousesports going with the double pick now. They can completely round out their composition. Scarf will be locked in. This is something we saw almost exclusively in the jungle in the regular season. But here on Update 2.7, it's something we've started to see lean towards the lane.
Yeah, it can go into either of those roles. So right now they have a lot of options with their third pick. They could look for a captain, they could go for a jungler, or a hyper late game carry to go with the Scarf and just really try and focus on that late game, which is, again, kind of fall back to the familiarity of the European style of play. But I would be very surprised if they went for a double late game carry, just because of the fact that it's with a Lance, you want to have a little bit more early game pressure.
And also, you're here at an international event. You cannot fall back into your comfort zone. You have to be pushing your boundaries and making your mark and figuring out this meta before you get into the North American games tomorrow. Let's remember, whoever wins this goes on to tomorrow, goes up against a North American team. You want to be able to show that you're a team to be reckoned with.
I do like the Black Feather, lots of mobility, able to get past the Finn and onto the back line. If you can get past the Finn, then Finn can't really help protect his team anymore because you are too quick and your opponents are going to have to run backwards and you can chase with them. Finn cannot keep up, so being able to dive onto the back line is very, very strong.
Yeah, with what's available, I think Vox makes a lot of sense here because he can dance around the Spitfire with his Sonic Zoom, and also he's good into Lance because of his mobility. To dodge the roots as well. So with the CP Kestrel and a Vox, they could make this work. And Echo on the Finn, which will be very interesting late game. And you have the Vox will be picked here. So now this composition, I feel, is pretty even because Scarf is so strong in the late game. Yet G2 has such a strong power spike in the mid game with the Finn level 6 there.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. And one of the key things as well is we've already been talking about how proactive G2 has been in these early games. If they can get to the mid game and really abuse that power spike, they have shown in game 1 of this series that they can easily run away with things. And this time, they've got the Kestrel on their side. So no I'm the Doom shenanigans stopping them towards the middle of the game. We'll see whether they can run away with things. How are we feeling about the compositions, Baker? What's the win conditions coming out?
The win condition for the side of G2 is going to be all about just making sure that they keep the Scarf in check. They have to make sure that focus the Scarf down, use the Force to Courts to try and just pull 1 or 2 members. You do not want to pull the entire team because that will spell disaster.
We'll see whether they're going to be able to use that Force to Court correctly. I want to remind you guys as well how important this series is for G2 right here. Last season, they were the only European team to take a series off a North American team. This season, they come in as the 6th seed, but they still have the opportunity to go against North America if they can win this series. We'll find out whether they can get another game on the board, but Mouse are not going to make it easy for them. Let's pass it back up to our casters.
Thank you very much, Munch. Here we go. Game number 3, Mousesports versus G2. Both of them 1 point on the board now, but very different drafts coming out from both of them this time.
Yeah, this is actually pretty interesting. The Scarf is definitely a pick that I'm curious about. It is another mage, and mages do seem to be pretty good on Update 2000. We've seen Celeste do some serious work up until this point. But at the same time, it is a very different kind of mage. You know, Celeste, it tends to be able to do a little bit more in the early and mid game. She has crowd control in the form of core collapse. That can really be a big point in the mid game, and especially when you're going up against Finn and Vox and this Kestrel too. You know, these are compositions that can fight early. Scarf might have a tough time there.
Oh, here we go. Jumping onto the fold. Game number 3, G2 on the red side, Mouse over on the blue. Again, the little love taps from both captains to start us off.
Yep, this is becoming pretty standard stuff. I'm a big fan of it. I like to say hi to my opponents as I head on the fold. But let's actually focus on some of this other... Oh, I like the nice charm there.
Yeah, the little charm going on. All right. I can appreciate that.
All right, let's shift our focus to some of the things we got to keep our eyes on now. One thing definitely worth keeping our eyes on here, we talked about the fact that, you know, on Update 2.6, we actually saw a decent amount of Scarf in the jungle. It was pretty strong at times, especially in Europe. It was doing some good work. But now, Apple's actually taking this up to the lane. It is going to farm a lot faster. You know, it's going to be able to get a lot more gold a lot more quickly, but it is going to be a bit slower in other ways.
Oh, it's also really annoying as he does chunk down Hundor with that Spitfire and the Gloop. Now Mouse looking for the rotation here. Dark Potato obviously alone, and they know this. He only was up in that lane. Dark Potato doesn't manage to steal it. Behind the Doom and Just Man maybe going for these backs instead. Small little minions kind of rotating as well. Dark Potato, he has got the range advantage, at least for the time being. It's a polite company to get rid of 45 HP, but Mouse just happy to slink away with only 1 cap.
Yeah, they were able to pick up that back camp, which does give a lot of gold. 150 early is nothing to sniff at. Dark Potato is flanking. Not a lot of energy for him. Oh, he picks it up. Yeah, only needs the 1. Now he's got the regen too.
He's got level 3, but he does get rooted. Not much energy
Nice
left
stun.
on him. Nice stun into the wall. I'm the Duke going forward, but Dark Potato secures the first blood with a glimmer shot. Atfel coming down to try and make something more of this, but Dark Potato managing to walk away. Blinking health bar, but first blood over to G2.
Beautiful turnaround from G2 Esports. I mean, everything landed there from Mouse, so it was simply a miscalculation in how much they were going to be able to do. Maybe they thought Appful was going to rotate a little bit more quickly. That's kind of the only way they'd get any more out of that play. But as it stands, you know, G2, that was a series of pretty fortunate events. When you're 1 versus 2 in the jungle and your captain's off helping your laner, you don't really expect to be able to get 2 treants in that exchange. You know, you kind of expect to lose that backhand and maybe a treant. Then on top of getting the treant, they actually get a kill as well. They waste a lot of Mousesports' time. G2 off to a really, really nice start as a result. Let's see, maybe Mouse can pick up a little bit of slack here and get some more camps.
Some fortunate route landing onto Just Man. Just stepped a little bit too far forward, and that treant pays him a little visit. Now, Atfel, at the moment, he has been bullying Hundor, but Hundor's managed to farm. Well, keep even on farm, at least for the moment. Mouse now rotating towards the lane. They are going to get spotted out. Just Man going in. Pretty easy one to predict for Hundor. Mechanical God on this Vox. Quibble not stunning just yet, not overdriven, but again, a lot of poke coming out for G2, and that's going to be their name of the game, it seems.
Yeah, that was some nice turnaround damage from both sides, actually. Appful doing a lot of work early on with that goop. But of course, Hundor also managed to get a lot of basic attacks in there. Early attack speed. This game is fairly even so far. I mean, yes, that was a nice play from G2 to react to Mousesports' initiation, but at the same time, they weren't able to get anything, you know, particularly of their own off the back of it. They weren't able to go into the fade because it was all the way in their jungle. They actually fought. Now with the shop on the map, though, I am curious to see what items get picked up. Dark Potato has a lot of money in the bank right now, and if he actually goes into the enemy's push here, he might cut off I'm the Doom.
He's got a lot of cash.
No, he's not going to go for it.
He's got a lot of dollar on him. He's working towards that shadow glass. Is that not what you call it over here? Dollar?
It is. Yeah. All right, so Dark Potato, yep, he's going to pick up the items you were expecting. I'm the Doom, clearing out some scout traps here. Curiously, both of the laners actually just recalling there. Neither one feeling confident enough with their captain and their jungler to make their way down to the jungle shop. We've got power spikes all across the board, really. I mean, Poison Shiv on Hundor. We've got the Fountain on Just Man, Frostburn on Appful. I do feel like You know, G2, they spike a little bit earlier in this game. They have a little bit more raw power in the mid-game, especially when Keanu hits 6, but even still, with things like that Poison Shift build, does do a lot of good work early on. You see there, pretty quick, you know, average time here. Brian the Doom, he gets those tier 3 items really fast.
Yeah, he does. All the farming prowess, but with that death, maybe that sets him back a little bit, but he is working towards a couple of items here. In fact, Sorrow Blade might be the case, but you can imagine it's going to be a 7 smart. Nice route onto Dark Potato. In fact, Justman has to hightail it out of there using those boots, although Atfo is going to meet them. Not level 6, no Dragon's Breath. That one-shot, one kill is going to hurt. More tickle at the moment. Justman still wanting to chase him. I'm the Doom is going to... Oh, hang on a second. He's just going to jump on him. That Crystal Sentry there. Fountain already used. Hunter's actually on a 1v2 situation right now, but he's making it work. Justman going very low. G2 still moving forward. Cripple's really good. His 2 members. Atfel using that good, using that Spitfire, but I'm the Doom's already in the back line. Takes out Dark Potato. They are just going to trade 1-for-1, but Justman's going to fall, and that will leave Atfel, the lonely dragon, to walk away from this one. Keanu chasing him away, but that will be 2 kills now over to G2, and they're both on Hondo.
Very, very nice stuff from both teams there, but obviously G2 coming out just ahead. Hundor right at the end, he was inches away from being hit by that impale. He actually stopped moving. He was in the process of moving into it. So, you know, as a prediction from Justman, but he managed to stop himself. Very, very nice stuff. I like the fact that he just straight up went for the 1v2, whilst I'm the Doom was tunneling so hard onto Dark Potato. Of course, I'm the Doom doing some good damage here, though. He's gone for a different build than we saw last game from that Black Feather. He's actually going for a Sorrow Blade first into the Serpent's Mask. I kind of like that. It gives him a bit more skirmishing power when it comes to just bursting down the, you know, either of the relatively squishy carries on the side of G2 Esports. And with the amount of flares they're buying, they're finding a lot of windows.
Nice impale, another Githian wall as well. I'm the Doom just cuts him where he stands. And again, Dark Potato falls down to the flare of Justman. Keanu now and Hundor, they are retreating underneath their turret, but Atfel's got the level 6. It's siege time now for Mouse.
Yeah, these flares have been doing a lot of work from Mousesports. G2 does need to be very careful, specifically Dark Potato, especially when his boots aren't on cooldown and he doesn't have a captain near him. That's the kind of time where Mouse is going to do some hunting. They know the cooldowns. They can see the fact that the captain is in the jungle. So obviously there's a good window of opportunity to try and get onto I'm the Doom. Thankfully, Dark Potato is doing a really good job of sniping away these camps whenever the Black Feather comes by, trying to get a drive-by steal. It is keeping things relatively even. One shot, one kill. Oh, it connects!
Oh,
look at
wow.
the damage, man!
All right, Atfel. He's going to have to brush that one off rather fast. Almost went down to the one-shot, one-kill cross map, like you said. G2 now, focusing this Goldminer. Goldminer actually, unless we missed it, wasn't actually taken or prioritized by either of these teams. There was just too much fighting in the last couple of games to really make it an objective worth going for. We'll pick it up, and that's 250 gold to each member. It's a big gold boost for them. 1,000 in the lead at 7 minutes.
You know, we were looking at that average build time earlier. It was like 6:23 for your first tier 3. Yeah, that's cool. But you got 2 tier 3s on Hundor by 7:30. So he's really putting up a good fight here farm-wise, managing to get a lot of money. He's actually slightly behind in farm compared to Apple. But as a weapon carry, especially as a box, the earlier gold kind of translates to a little bit more for him. Good hook!
Forced a cord straight into the Polite Company, and the Glimmer Shot will finish him off. Justman, I'm the Doom, using those boots to get away. Rose offensive out. And he will just separate himself from Justman, so the bounce doesn't connect. G2 now with a kill. Oh, no, it's not their Dark Potato, unfortunately. They are going to put a lot of damage down to this tier 1 turret, though.
Yeah, I think they're actually taking this tier 1 turret. They have plenty of damage for it. Justman does get a very nice double stun, but it's only going to be buying a little bit of time here. Thankfully for him, there's no forced accord to follow up the turret take with potentially a kill. G2 Esports, they're finding a lot of small windows here to really just pressure onto Mousesports. Mousesports has been the ones trying to set the tempo, but if you don't do it right, sometimes that just puts you in the wrong position, puts you in a position where you can't defend properly. Hundor's got to be careful, he's next to a wall!
Impale does end up going down, and yet deleted already. Mousesports, they find it, like you said, next to a door is not where you want to be, especially against Justman's Lance. Now Dark Potato, he's got the ability to anti-siege, taking Justman very, very low, and Atfel going fairly low as well.
Yeah, thankfully for Hundor, Dark Potato's here to cover over that misplay a little bit. There really wasn't any option for Mousesports to push into a Kestrel who's doing that much damage. Now, this all being said, Dark Potato has basically no energy regeneration compared to what he needs to play like that. So he is going to have to be taking treants and playing a little bit slow until he picks up maybe tier 2 regeneration items.
Now, what's interesting, we mentioned it in game number 1, is that G2, when they're practiced, you can easily see why they are such a formidable force. And maybe the season before, yeah, they weren't practicing as much, and we know that through just talking to the players, and maybe this is what it took. Just a little bit more practice time, a bit more time on the books. Now, they're really showing why EU is not a region you want to mess with.
You know, in Europe, we don't really have a team that has the same legacy as like DNZO and Immortals had.
Oh, Pale does land Keanu, but he's just going to walk that one up. Hondor taking that fortified HP. Doom is actually going down very low, cuts him down where he stands. That regeneration's nothing for those mortal wounds. Dark Potato with the 1v1 as well. Atfel's going to fall. Just Man goes down as well. Hondor with a double. The ace for G2, and they're going to push on to this next turret.
Very nice stuff from G2. Mousesports going that far up right now. I mean, they were almost at the tier 1 turret of G2 Esports when they don't have a tier 1 tower and they are the later game team and they are behind. Strategically, that's a curious decision for them to be making. It results in an ace, another turret picked up. This is how games snowball out of control. G2 Esports look great right now. Got a replay coming up. Let's have a look at that fight again. See how close Mousesports are to a very extended position here. They think they found a pick, but Dark Potato's on the back line to really stop Apple from being able to do damage. When Apple's not doing damage, and it's just Blackfeather who's not got a lot of defensive items right now, Hondor and Keanu definitely deal with him. You know, it's not a situation where they can't handle the initiation out of I'm the Doom. It's not like a Koshka who's just going to go in and instantly beats him.
That's who they're dealing with, is I'm the Doom. He's got so much regeneration in his kit and with that Serpent's Blast, but right now, Hondor is just tearing through him. He's got that Poison Shiv to apply the mortal wound. And I'm the Doom just cannot find these fights that he really wants to. He can't solo out Dark Potato. He can't solo out Hondor. There's too much protection from this Finn pick as well. Sweet J seemed to really like this Finn, and I can definitely see why. It's working out an absolute treat. However, Mouse is still pushing forward. Atfel still has that Dragon Spell. We haven't actually seen him use it just yet. He's actually gone down more often than not before he can pop the cooldown.
Let's see if there's an angle here that Mousesports can maybe take. Hondor's playing with fire on the front line, literally as Apple tries to land the Spitfires. If one connects, things look different.
Crucible a little bit late. Polite Company to slow them up. Dark Potato's going to get jumped on. That's going to be a massive Dragon's Breath as well if he can get it off. Nice route, but it's not going to matter. They trade 1-for-1. Doom's very, very low in the back line, but Keanu, Hondor, they're taking a little bit too much damage. Hondor just going forward, stepping a little bit too far. And the Doom cuts him down. When they're on point, the gold miner goes over, and that's an ace for Mouse.
Beautiful from Mousesports. Really, really excellent positioning. They toyed with G2 a little bit at the beginning of that fight. They gave the impression that they were in a worse position than they actually were. You can see it here. Keanu thinks he's found a tasty little morsel there with that Forced Accord, but of course, you know, the follow-up is there. I'm the Doom at this stage with a beautiful Rose Offensive just barely edges out of the fight, and all this time Apple's winding up Dragon's Breath. Later on, it's possible for G2 to make that fight still happen if Goop does not connect when it does, but the slow is ridiculous. Hondor had no way of dodging out and kiting I'm the Doom once that came through. Now, we've got a game on our hands, Jaws. Things are much closer off the back of that fight.
13 minutes, this is the closest they've been at this mark. Only 2,000 gold separates them right now. And in fact, speaking of gold, I've never seen or heard the tiny gold payout collected before. There's only 83 gold apiece, but hey, it's still gold, because a couple of minions, or at least a camp each, so it's not too bad. Not too bad. They at least got one on the board, that's the most important thing. But, Mouse, they're still down a turret in this situation, down 2 turrets, sorry. So G2, it's really their game to pressure now. They've got 1 turret down, yes, but the issue is, if they hit another one of those Forced Accords, it could be all over, especially if they tag Atfel.
Yeah, Mousesports needs to be very careful, but they are on the fringes of making it to the later stage of the game, which they're really looking for here with that Scarf and Blackfeather. Itemization-wise, I think you could actually make the argument that Apple is kind of already there. What they really need more than anything for Mousesports to power spike properly and be able to take fights to G2, I think is slightly more defensive itemization on I'm the Doom, because as it stands, if they actually land crowd control onto him and it's not just damage, it's going to look a lot different than the last fight.
Oh, Forced Accord, this time it's going to get blocked. Doesn't mean they're going to be hand-delivered. Keanu just refusing to give this one up. Just though Quibble doesn't have to just, man. That's a lot of poke from the Clipper shots coming out from a Dark Potato. I'm the Doom looking for a sneaky flank, but G2 sniffing out before anything can happen. Ooh, Dark Potato beginning to hurt now.
We've got a one-shot, one-kill up in a couple of seconds here, Jaws.
Hang on a second. They know one person's back, so Keanu's actually going to push forward. Dark Potato can't take too much damage, though. Not too many defensive items. In fact, no defensive items underneath his belt. 2 Shatterglass and a Clockwork. The standard Kestrel build does a lot of damage, but if you get hit by one of those Spitfires, your health bar is just going to disappear.
G2 should honestly reset here. It's 30 seconds till Kraken. You lose a fight. I mean, it's really tragic in this position. So there's no real need to push the tempo the way that they are just because I'm the Doom's off the map. You know, Dark Potato doesn't have enough energy to really make it happen. Keanu doesn't have Force to Cord for quite some time, even still 20 seconds off of that one. So definitely just playing it safe, getting all of your cooldowns back up makes a lot of sense to me. We do see I'm the Doom trying to peek his head in here, nearly connecting that slow on the Hundor.
Dark Potato doing a lot. Whoop! Whoop! Whoops-a-daisy. That didn't go which way you wanted to go, as you can hear the crowd sigh a little bit. We all saw it, buddy. I'm sorry.
He just had to try and outdo Apple in every way after that core collapse.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Is there quite a short cooldown though? It's only 10 seconds remaining, so you can brush that one off. It's not going to cost you too much, but don't want to look for a fight.
It was a warning shot.
That's true. A warning shot the other way, they couldn't even see.
All right, so we got an Atlas Pauldron picked up now for Keanu and Nakoa. That's going to be very useful against I'm the Doom if he's able to land that. Very, very strong stuff. Also pretty good against Scarf if you land it just because of the perk. I mean, it's not something that's, you could say it's a slight perk. All right, so now we've also got a Crystal Infusion on Just Man. Obviously, that's going to give him some slightly better crowd control in these initiations. I think that's going to be pretty important because Hundor, honestly, his responsibility in this game is kind of interesting. When you've got two ranged carries like this, but one of them is a Vox, you frequently see the Vox playing kind of up in fights, trying to make things happen to maybe zone out Apfel a little bit, because you can't give him a ton of space. But at the same time, he does need to be very mindful, especially fighting the jungle, of these choke points.
That went the right way.
Githian walls.
Oh, forced to Cord, and now G2 still pushing on at Fell. He does have the Eve of Harvest, so he's going to get a bit of regeneration when he hits a skill shot. Now G2 still pushing. This has been the tail. This is the Kraken dance now that they're initiating. Who's the lead? It seems to be G2 right now. Swinging Mousesports around, especially with poking out those glimmer shots. It's going to hurt a fair bit. Just Man looking for an opening, but still can't find it, it seems.
I like that Keanu's playing more of a point man for his team right now. That one
hang on a second. One shot going a little bit wide, but still a lot of damage there. Goes on the back line already, trying to dive into Hundor, but it's not going to matter. It seems Dragon Bet's going to get charged up. They trade 1-for-1 right now, but that's going to be G2 taking the lead in this fight once again. Apfel is going to fall. G2, they take the ace, they're going to take the Kraken, and they're going to take the base.
Man, I got to admire Hundor for being able to keep his cool in some really scary situations. In that fight, he was actually able to do enough damage onto I'm the Doom when I'm the Doom thought he was going to get the kill, that it really messed with I'm the Doom's ability to be effective in the fight. You can see it in just a second here. They sort of see a window of opportunity. Hundor's chunked very low. They try and dive onto him, but he gets a great reflex block, and the entire time he's just stutter stepping, getting all the attacks in that he needs to. Apfel also very hard committed for the kill. Onto Dark Potato there. I appreciate, you know, needing to be effective and get something done there, but at the same time, he extended so far that there was no way that wasn't turning into an ace for G2. Now they've got a Kraken on the board. This is what they really needed to maybe seal the deal, maybe push in here and take game number 2.
0.74. That is the rate at which G2 get Krakens per game. Still pushing on. Oh, forced to Cord. Apfel's the perfect targets. Has used their boots to get away. G2, they're going to be able to crack the base now. That turret going down. Keanu comes through with a massive quibble onto two members. One shot, one kill is going to snake its way through Mouse, but Kraken is still looming on the base. This could be match point for G2. They are chunking out those turrets rather heavily. There's going to be a beautiful stun onto Hundor. He's going to get slowed up, but it's not going to matter. A massive, massive active camo stun coming through for Dark Potato. Apfel's going to charge up that Dragon's Path. It's a lot of damage. He does manage to take out one, but they still need to deal with that Kraken. Hundor is now straight on top of him. Yep, that'll be G2. They're going to fall to the ace. The Quibble dealing with a little bit, well, giving them a little bit more time. And ace comes through, but that Kraken still is going to take both turrets of Mousesports space. They're left with nothing now.
Mousesports really needs to appreciate just how lucky they are that the game isn't over right now. Couple of big misplays. First things first, Hundor walking near the wall at the beginning of that fight. He's done that a couple of times this game. Sometimes it makes more sense to disengage fully and then come back in than try and walk that line where you're in range to attack, but you're in a bad position. You can see it here. He really tried to go around the bottom when his team was not on the same wavelength, trying to go up towards the top. Now, they did have a good turnaround at the beginning. Finding that first kill was nice, but Dark Potato was way too far away without a reload. You know, he wasn't ready to actually reinitiate that one, so Hundor needed to try and stay on Apfel with the rest of his team. Otherwise, that wasn't going to pan out. So some communication errors there. I'd like to say that maybe it's no big deal for G2. I mean, they have taken every turret on the map. But honestly, with the composition that Mousesports is running, that's the kind of fight they needed to just come back swinging, to come back in a position where they can now start dealing some real damage. You've seen Apfel start to get some defense items. That one shot did way less damage than the one we saw earlier on. They've got more utility on their side. I think Mousesports, if they play this next fight correctly, could actually just straight up come back because of how late in the game we are now.
We are approaching that 20-minute mark, and speaking of Apfel, the first time on stage, let me reiterate, this guy, not seeming to show nerves at all. His positioning has been absolutely stellar with the Dragon's Breath. Able to 2v1 at certain situations. Force to Cord is going to get blocked, but Mouse still looks forward. Ooh. And Echo comes out, and another Force to Cord. Apfel still in the back line, use those boosts to get away. They're still trying to pin him down. Dragon's Breath is going to rain through 4 members of G2, but Dark Potato completely in the clear. There comes the Fountain out, a nice heal, but Just Man's in a 1v2 against the 2 carries. Not where you want to be. They take 1, they take 2. I'm the Doom running away with no health bar remaining. I think this is going to be AJ G2. They might just take the base.
Oh, absolutely. There's no way I'm the Doom is defending this by himself. If he manages it, I will be incredibly impressed. But G2 here, especially with Dark Potato's stealth, really should be able to lock this one in.
Well, he's going to go in regardless. You've got to at least put up a little bit of a fight. Dark Potato going very low. They're just focusing down the Vein Crystal right now. Dark Potato just gets the nice stun off of him. Active camo into a quibble. Ace for G2 and match point on the board for them.
Very nice stuff from Keanu.